Speaking of Zuffa Boxing, we'll give you some more information. I mentioned a few minutes ago it was signed, sealed, and delivered that Shakur Stevenson signed a contract with Zuffa. I said it was going to happen. Why? Because as soon as Stevenson threw away his WBC belt because he refused to pay the sanctioning fees, which followed Terrence Crawford, and those two have been kind of tight. It did not shock me. People were asking Stevenson, what kind of fights does he expect to get with Zuffa Boxing, or what's been promised, and asked him basically why, and he had some a really good comment. He said. And this is a quote from Stevenson. He said, and I quote, "I'm in the money making business. With Zuffa, the money is insane." Before I continue with his quote, that's the thing that makes me laugh because the other promoters are, spewing that they're not going to get money. You had a couple of the MMA fighters coming out saying that once you're in the league, the purses are fixed. Yeah, well, that's kind of what it is. But if you set the bar with guys, especially like Stevenson and Garcia, you set that bar, and they're going to have to listen. The money is generated by the name. The name gets made by the fans. And the way the fans make the name is if the name performs, right? So if a fighter performs and he's entertaining, he's going to get the fans. If he gets the fans, he's going to be worth more money because he sells tickets, sells buys, whatever. Anyway, the rest of the comment was, I wouldn't have signed with Zuffa if I didn't think I could get the fights I want. When it comes down to it, I want to fight the biggest and best fights. That's what I'm in this sport for. We're not looking for no little small fights that don't do nothing for me or my career. I'm not really thinking of being an undisputed champion. I just want to fight the biggest fights and the best fighters. I want to fight the guys that the fans want to see me fight, the guys that have been calling for years. You know, this speaks volumes to me. And he knows that Zuffa Boxing is going to be able to get those money fights. It was evident right here. Okay, now remember, Stevenson signed before the Ryan Garcia Conor Ben was made official. All right. Then this fight was made official, and all of a sudden, Ryan Garcia is saying, if I sign basically a long-term deal with Zuffa. Now he's fighting under the banner, but he's not signed with Zuffa the way Shakur Stevenson is. He's signed for that fight. I don't know what the particulars are. If Zuffa gets a piece of Ryan Garcia, should he win? Blah blah blah. I don't know. All right, so that's usually a normal practice in boxing, but we don't know, and I don't know for sure. But it was pretty interesting to hear him quote saying, I'm not wearing, if I sign with Zuffa, I'm not wearing a Zuffa uniform. Now, what he was referring to is when Shakur Stevenson signed, the first publicity shot you saw of him was wearing a Zuffa Boxing, shorts and stuff. And I would say this, if Shakur Stevenson said, the money is insane, I wouldn't be surprised if I see Ryan Garcia wearing nothing but Zuffa apparel once he's signed. So never say never. And Zuffa Boxing is starting to attract these guys. And remember something. The most important part of Zuffa Boxing and whether it's going to succeed or not is if Zuffa Boxing, if Dana White and Zuffa Boxing have the ability to cultivate their own new talent, right? Not the Shakur Stevensons, not the Canelos, et cetera, not the big names. The big names they need now. But in order for them to be successful long term, they have to cultivate young talent. And that's what I've been trying to tell you people that aren't listening to me. They are. They have these young fighters. They have fighters that are undefeated or once or twice beaten, fighting each other in extremely entertaining fights. I'm going to be breaking down the fights that is on the Zuffa card for Sunday, and they're all competitive. They may not be the top names, the biggest names in the sport, but they're all competitive fights, and that's the most important thing. And no, wait, ladies and gentlemen, there's more because Zuffa Boxing signed Johnny Fisher. Now, Johnny Fisher is a heavyweight. He's a British heavyweight. He was fighting under match room, right? And he's got a record of 14-1, with 12 of his wins coming by knockout. He lost the one fight. He got knocked out in that fight. But he's come back with a win, and he's got a huge following. He's called the Romford Bull. He's from Romford, England. He's from Essex County, but I guess Romford is where he was born, or whatever the case. But he lost against David Allen. They had a rematch. That was the rematch. He had fought him the first time and won a unanimous decision, and it was kind of a controversial decision. So then that fight, David Allen and Johnny Fisher, was the main event of another fight, and David Allen beat him pretty badly. Now, I don't know if Johnny Fisher was exposed to a degree, and I hate to use that word, but I don't know, what else to say about that, but we'll see how he fights under Zuffa. But there's another case where Zuffa Boxing is filling up their stable with some young, sellable talent, and he's a heavyweight, and he's a guy that's going to sell some tickets. And speaking of Zuffa, because I have been speaking of Zuffa, the Zuffa 9 card, which is taking place at Madison Square Garden this weekend. They also announced that Otto Wallen is going to be on that card. They keep adding to this to their repertoire, as far as I'm concerned. And speaking of signings, no more Zuffa Boxing, but